I saw Susie sitting in a shoe shine shop. Where she sits, she shines. And where she shines, she that's the hard one, right?
Well, there you go.
Oh, boy.
Voice acting is literally all. You probably hear more voice acting than you hear anything else. When you start really thinking about it, it's around you all the time. Spotify ads, radio ads, TV commercials, in TV shows, movies, animated shows, obviously, audiobooks, podcasts, Siri. She won't shut up, right?
That's not very nice.
Voiceover literally becomes the voice of your brand. You know, you think anywhere from like car dealerships with the annoying guys on the radio, all the way up to celebrity endorsements where they're picking a celebrity voice to emulate their brand. Tina Fey and Walgreens, Morgan Freeman and Visa, Wanda Sykes and Applebee's. All of these people then become the brand. You know who has my favorite voice of all time? McConaughey. All right. Mostly people just want him to say all right, but that's his thing. It's his signature. It's fine. So I guess this week the experts in Little Rock, Arkansas, see what they can teach me. And we're gonna eat barbecue, because that's also what you do in Arkansas.
You hear voice acting all the time.
In a world.
At the movies, on the train, when you leave a voicemail.
Please leave your message after the tone.
Wait, who leaves a voicemail anymore? But voice actors are still basically unknown. Ever heard of Peter Cullen, the voice of Optimus Prime?
Autobots, unite.
Did you know he also voiced Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh?
Thanks for noticing me.
Oh, and Predator from Predator? There's Dan Castellaneta, the voice of Homer Simpson, Krusty the Clown,
Hey, kid!
and probably over 100 other Simpsons characters. Then there's Kevin Conroy, the voice of practically every animated Batman ever.
I'm Batman.
Seriously, he is Batman. Now you might be thinking that voice acting is dominated by men. True, but that's not the whole truth. Movie trailers and announcers are mostly male, but computerized voices, from voicemail prompts to GPS navigation to the voice of Siri, are overwhelmingly female.
Who, me?
In fact, there's research that suggests that people find female voices more pleasing to listen to. But people also trust deeper voices more than higher pitched ones,
Oh, yeah.
judging them to be more competent and powerful, even when they're female. Go figure. One of the lesser known uses of voice acting is ADR, or additional dialogue replacement. That's when actors dub over the dialogue to replace lines that weren't recorded well on set. Tom Hanks recently posted on an Ask Reddit thread saying it can take as much as 2 hours to get a line right and as long as 3 days per film.
Well done!
Then there are Foley artists, who are like the mimes of voice acting. They're the ones that make all the sounds in movies that don't get picked up in the original shot. Everything from footsteps to horse steps, using whatever they can to create the right sounds to fill in the world and make it feel real. But maybe the coolest thing voice actors are doing has nothing to do with movies. Vocality is a nonprofit that uses voice actors' voices to make personalized synthetic voices for the millions of people with vocal disabilities. They blend the donor's voice with samples from the recipient to create a completely unique voice that doesn't just sound more human, it actually sounds like them. Pretty powerful stuff. So now that we've jumped into the world of voice acting, try spending a full day keeping track of all the voice acting that you hear.
In a world. Autobots, unite.
I'm Batman.
I'm gonna hit up Google, figure out a few resources, see where I can learn some more about voice acting and voiceover, and see if I can up my game a little bit.
Okay, so I hopped on Netflix and I found this movie called I Know That Voice.
I think I'm gonna grab some popcorn, sit back, and watch the show real quick.
It was my very first animation.
In the name of charity and Nelson.
So when you're looking up a book to study a subject, you always go for the For Dummies books first. So we're gonna give this a shot, see what kind of good stuff's in here. I really love online tutorials. I think they're a really good way of learning. I like to visually learn and to also do things.
Hopped on Udemy, found this great course. Gonna give it a shot, see what I learn.
Looks like we got about, 4 sections, 12 lectures.
So I just finished the Udemy course. A lot of interesting stuff. Took a bunch of notes.
He taught me about the 3 golden rules, which are you go down at the end of a sentence, make sure to pause in between sentences, and then to energize the beginning of the next sentence. Definitely a good course. Good use of my time, I think. I'm headed to the airport. Kind of stoked, you know, like get some actual studio time, see what it's like. I had a little bit of homework, and in regular style with homework, I procrastinated it. So I'm gonna be doing a little bit of light reading on the plane. See how far I can get through it. I wish every book had this headline. Just make it easy for me, you know? Get the skills you need. I'm on vocal rest.
Now if you got a woman, she won't treat you right. Don't let her wait till tomorrow. Put her out that night. Cause men nowadays got to protect yourself. A no good woman can mean a good man's devil.
The Human Torch could not get a bank loan. The arsonist had oddly shaped feet.
Finally made it to Soundscapes. We're in Little Rock, Arkansas. Gonna head in there, learn a little bit more about voice acting.
So walking into Soundscapes seems a little dated, but when Brent starts showing us all the features of this place, it's unreal.
Yeah. Come on in a studio. I'll show you the characteristics of a well-built studio. And you'll notice when you come in here, the sound dies out. It deadens just a little bit. And that's because in a well-built studio, you will never have 2 parallel reflective surfaces. When a studio is asymmetrical, it's to create chaos because you don't want sound bouncing back and forth. My name is Brent Walker, and I've owned this business called Soundscapes for 33 years. We produce advertising and marketing-oriented audio, voiceover, and then mixing the voiceover with sound effects and music. There's voiceover work everywhere. In fact, commercials only comprise about 7% of the voiceover universe.
Crazy.
Yeah, the rest of it is narrations, e-learning, web explainer videos, book reading. There's a lot of book reading going on right now. Acting, I think, is an essential part of voiceover because you can have a nice voice and read scripts all day long, but if your reading of that script does not come from an emotional core, then it's going to be dry and flat and lifeless and will not connect on an emotional level with a listener.
I looked up a ton of different ways to learn like this. I did tutorials, I read books. 90 minutes with Brent was the best way I could have learned any of this. So I'm sitting there in the sound booth and just got super Rocky pumped. I had the tiger playing in my mind, and it helps. That's a good way of getting into characters.
At Sewell, we're obsessed with service. For us...
Okay, hold it right there.
Okay.
You are doing a great job impersonating an announcer. Talk to me as if I'm a friend. At Sewell, we're obsessed with service.
Brent's vocal cords were blessed by Julie Andrews herself. His voice is like unreal. He's dialed. It's like a gift from the voiceover gods. Feels like a mother's warm embrace.
Articulation is incredibly important. Remember, people can't see you, so everything you say has to be very, very clear. And that all occurs up here in the front of the mouth. The best way to do it, I think I gave you a wine cork.
Got it.
And you just barely put it between your 2 front teeth.
Okay.
Now, read as clearly as you can.
That's why we're honored to be able to contribute to Children's Hospital. Nothing makes us happier than seeing the smile of a child. We want to ask...
That's okay. That's enough. That's enough.
At Sewell, we're obsessed with service. For us, service doesn't stop at the signing. It goes far beyond that.
Can you feel the difference?
Oh, yeah.
I can hear the difference.
It's like muscle memory.
It is muscle memory.
He's teaching me all this stuff, and it's just like drinking from a fire hose. It's just so much information and so much to take in.
The best way in the world to practice articulation is with the tongue twisters that you tried to do as a kid. And it makes you focus on your tongue, your teeth, and your lips. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Where's a peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked?
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? I was on a roll until
yes, you're good. You're good. You were good.
There was a minimum of cinnamon in the aluminum pan.
Now say it without trying hard.
There was a minimum of cinnamon in the aluminum pan.
Now say it conversationally.
There was a minimum of cinnamon in the aluminum pan.
There you go. I think you're doing really well. You're learning a lot.
Learning a lot.
Yeah, this
really
is good.
Fast. When I left Soundscapes, I felt
pretty confident. I was pretty stoked on how it went. Brent gave me a lot of good tips. I wasn't leaving an expert, but I was leaving pretty confident in the fact that I could go learn more and get better, improve, and add this to my skill set. Being with him was incredible, like an amazing experience. And we weren't together very long, but I learned so much. You know, it's hands-on learning. You can do that with tutorials, but you're not getting that feedback that you would get from another human or an expert. So a couple weeks after I got back from Soundscapes, I got this opportunity to go read some copy for a local radio station, KRCL here in Salt Lake.
Well, we're finally seeing fall in the valley. The leaves are turning colors. You may even need to use your car heater on cool mornings. That means KRCL is busy working on plans for this year's Polar Jubilee. And it's time to save the date. Mark your calendar for Friday, December 4th from 6 to 10 p.m. This year's event will be a family affair and a true Polar Jubilee at the Gallivan Center.
Interesting experience. I need to do it some more to get better. Practice, like Mama always says. So what I took away from this is, first, it's not just about the voice. It's all about acting. You got to get into a character, whether or not you're just reading promo work or you're doing copy for, you know, a commercial. The second thing I learned is that this is way more musical than you think. Brent was dropping all sorts of musical terms: staccato, legato, tone, rhythm, all this stuff that you normally think about with singing or, you know, music, and it's voice acting. So you need to be able to hear your voice and change your rhythm and your tone by listening to yourself, how you're dragging things out, how you're pausing. That was definitely something I learned.
So here's what I spent this episode. I watched I Know That Voice on my Netflix account, and that's $8 a month. I snagged Voice Acting for Dummies on Amazon for $19. The Udemy course was originally $123, but I got it on a deal for only $10. You got to keep an eye out for a good deal. The Art of Voice Acting was $16, and the whole trip to Little Rock from flights, hotel, and absolutely delicious barbecue was $573. All in all, not bad to move closer to becoming an expert.
On the next episode of Ryan Learns Something, I piss off a bunch of designers by telling them to make the logo bigger. Check it out here. Make that a little bit bigger. What about the leading and the kerning? Can you switch that up? Yeah, that's good. It's letting. F you.